Hello, brilliant entrepreneur. It's Tash Corbin here, and welcome to another episode of the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. This is episode number 185, and that means that you can find all of the show notes and any links that I refer to over at tashcorbin.com/185. Today, we're going to be talking about copycats. So if you think someone might be copying you, you definitely know someone is copying you, what do you need to do and how do you deal with having a copycat in your business? It's a pretty juicy one, so let's get started. I'm Tash Corbin and this is the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. So there comes a time in every entrepreneur's life where we start to suspect that maybe someone is ripping off our stuff. And yes, they do say that imitation is the most sincere form of flattery, but as a business owner, it can be a really difficult thing to deal with because we don't know if we should be protecting our intellectual property. We might be a little bit worried about someone, stealing our customers. And ultimately, we need to have some form of strategy to deal with having someone's stuff look a little too similar to ours. Or for me, in a lot of cases, it's someone comes to me and says, hey, that person has copied this thing of yours. And so I thought I would do this episode of the podcast to help with some insights on how I deal with it and also give you some strategies on what to do when this comes up. So first and foremost, we want to treat it as the sign from the universe that it really is, and that is that clearly you are doing something right. So if you get this, someone telling you that someone's copying you or this suspicion that someone may be copying you, give yourself a little pat on the back and celebrate it. First and foremost, before you do anything, decide what to do, worry about it, contact your lawyer. Before you do anything else, I want you to celebrate it because this is one of those things in business bingo that you can tick off as a sign of success. People who aren't making an impact in the world, who aren't doing good things, who aren't making changes to people's lives, who aren't being successful, they don't experience this. You are experiencing this because it's a sign that you have made it. So rule number one with any of that business bingo, someone asking for a refund, getting a hater, and having someone copy you, any of those things that happen, we play bingo in the takeoff program with all of those sorts of things. Any of those things happen to you, I want you to celebrate first. Make it your habit that when you find out about it, the first thing you do is go, yes, I've made it, because beautiful lady, you have made it if this happens to you. So that's step number one, is to celebrate the flattery that is you have had someone copy you or you're suspecting that someone might have copied you. Now, rule of thumb number two is to accept and acknowledge that sometimes it is actually a coincidence. Now, I've actually had two separate instances within my own programs where I've had someone reach out to me and say, oh my goodness, that person has copied me. And upon reflection, or in my memory, the thing that they've said the person has copied has actually been something I've worked on that person with. And it has completely come out of the blue in a completely different situation. Names of programs, ways of talking about things, structures of the way that they've structured something has actually, I have known that that has not been a copy because I've been working with that person on that thing, and we've been doing it in complete isolation of knowing what that other person was up to. So we do want to make sure that we're not overestimating the reach of our work and really reading into something that's not there. You often, you might use a turn of phrase or a way of talking about something, and someone else has coincidentally come up with the same idea. There are billions of people in the world. There are probably hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of other people out there trying to help people achieve the same outcomes that you are helping people to achieve. And there's no Often there's no correlation. They haven't even paid attention to what you're doing, and it is a coincidence. The other thing is that often we are all learning from similar mentors or from the same people or in the same spaces. And so we've taken something that we've learned from here and something that we've learned from there. We've created something. We feel like it is completely unique and it's completely our own thing. It came out of nowhere. But we are all products of our environment, and it is totally reasonable to assume that someone else may have experienced those two things and put them together as well. So the second thing that I do is I take copycats and mimicry and imitations with a grain of salt, unless it's a specific thing, like for example my turn process, or it's something that I've actually, developed a model around and it is the exact same model. I will often just go, you know what? They could have come up with that on their own. It is easier and much more productive for me to go, oh, look at that. We both reached the same conclusion, than for me to stress and obsess over whether that person took my stuff and copied it and provided it to someone else. Ultimately, for me, I come up with so many things and I come out with so many different sayings and I use so many different phrases, and I have no idea whether that's a Tash Corbin original or whether I read it sometime. I mean, I've been on this planet over 30 years now and I am a lifelong learner. I am an avid reader. I listen to audiobooks pretty much every day. I go to webinars. I learn things off the TV. I watch Shark Tank. It could have come out of any of those different things. I reckon I've listened to over 200 episodes of Marie TV. I've probably listened to over 100 of Denise Duffield Thomas's podcasts. I listen to other podcasts as well, Heart, Soul and Hustle with Zach Buckler. I listen to The Art of Decluttering with Kirsty and Amy. I'm listening to all these different things. Chances are that I've said something or I've come up, I've gone, that's a brilliant title for a blog post. I may have listened to that before or heard that somewhere else before. It was a sentence in a book that I've listened to before as well. I don't 100% know where this stuff comes from. And so if someone else happens to have listened to hundreds of my podcast episodes and then something comes out from them or they come up with a podcast title that looks similar to something of mine, it could be a coincidence. It could be that subconsciously it just kind of popped out of them. And I'm not here to say whether that's okay or not. To be honest, I think that it's beautiful we're all contributing to the same conversation. And that is point number 3. So one was to celebrate it and take it as a sign of flattery and celebrate your success. You're getting out there. Point 2 is to acknowledge that it might be coincidence. It might not have been a direct, people don't do this out of vindictiveness a lot of the time. And we need to take it with a bit of a grain of salt. And then point number 3 is be thankful that there are other people contributing to the conversation that you are contributing to. You often are creating a new way of thinking, whether it's in business or health or healing or mindset or whatever it is the space that you're working in. Isn't it wonderful that there are other people out there who agree with you? I know that there are big coaches out there who say you have to have something unique and you have to be talking about your specific thing. But ultimately, if there are other people teaching feminine and connected ways of marketing your business, I celebrate that. And I love that we're all contributing to that conversation, because ultimately, not everyone is going to want to work with me. Not everyone is going to resonate with the way that I talk about it. And not everyone is out there teaching business in the same model that I am. And so I love that there are multiple people out there all contributing to this conversation and all trying to get women to really tap into their inner strengths and their unique ability to connect, because for too long, we've been overwhelmed with the other form of business and marketing, and that is the masculine hustle, that really assertive and aggressive style of marketing and sales. And to be honest with you, it's nice to have some company in that conversation. So that's another way of really looking at when you see that maybe someone's copying you, or, oh, that's a little bit too similar to my work. Instead of going, oh, that's too similar to my work, go away, don't do that. Celebrate the fact that you're contributing to the same conversation. Number 4, You are unique, and often we are triggered by that copycat or that's the same as mine because we are not acknowledging and valuing our own uniqueness enough. So if you are finding that you are seeing someone else's stuff and it looks similar to yours and it makes you feel uncomfortable, often that comes from a space of lack or fear that we don't have a unique value proposition other than this piece of thing that we've done. And so if someone's got that, then what on earth is my value proposition? How am I meant to be worthy? And the thing I want to say about that is there are thousands of dentists out there, but I choose to go back to the same dentist because of the unique relationship that I have with that person. And I love the balance that they have between being, a bit rousing on me when I haven't been doing what I'm supposed to be doing with my teeth, and also knowing that I can heal my teeth and that natural approach, and they're really kind and gentle to me. And so by acknowledging how unique you are and the unique things that you bring to the table beyond your intellectual property, beyond the way that you've talked about the things, beyond that model that you came up with, beyond the name of that blog post that you wrote, beyond that random sequence of words that you think is your unique tagline and no one else can use it, will help you to understand that you are worth way more than that thing that person has copied. And, I say this all the time. If I was, you are worth more than you can possibly jam into a 1-hour webinar. You are worth more than you can possibly write on that sales page. You are worth more than that one offer that you think someone's copied the structure of. There is so much more to you and who you are and what you have to offer. And when you start to acknowledge that and really dig into that and really explode that out there into the market, you'll stop being worried about whether someone's copied that one thing. And that's really, I think, why I have such a blasé attitude to people taking that sentence or that structure or that model or that steps or whatever it is, because ultimately I'm still spewing out new stuff all the time. And so that person can keep copying me if they want. They'll always be 2 steps behind me because I don't even know what's going to come out of me next episode. So how can they know what's going to come out of me next episode, right? So ultimately, if you can tap into that real deep inner knowing that you are unique, you are worthy, you're always going to be producing new stuff, you're always going to have a new way of talking about things, then ultimately you're less attached to the stuff you've created in the past. And to quote Homer Simpson, you're living in the past, Marge. Stop living in the past. Those things that you created before, they are in the past. Yes, you're still using them now and they're part of your present and they're part of your future, your future content strategy. That's totally cool. But if you're staying attached to things you've created in the past, potentially you're staying closed off to things you're going to create in the future. So let go of it and just know that you are unique and you will continue to refine your messaging and release new things and create new things as you move forward. And then tip number 5 on dealing with copycats is stop watching for them. Stop looking at them, stop paying attention. If it comes to your attention that someone may have copied something of yours, unfollow them, unsubscribe from their newsletter, and just stop looking at it. It can be very tempting to get very obsessed with what that person is doing. And the more you look for similarities between what you do and what they do, the more you will find them. It's also a great energetic disconnect for you to say, well, I'm going to stop watching you. And you're creating a boundary energetically with that person as well. You can even do a cord cutting exercise and really visualize letting go of all of those hooks and attachments between you and that person. You don't have to tell them you're breaking up with them. You don't have to block them on Facebook. It doesn't have to be a big deal, but you just energetically disconnect by stopping looking at their stuff. And that's a really powerful one. And I know that it can be hard to do because you want to keep watching them and keep watching where they're copying you. But the more you're focused on that person, the less you are focused on what you've got to offer, your unique value proposition, and creating new things and moving forward. Now, they are my 5 tips for dealing with copycats. So it's number 1, celebrate it. Number 2, it can be coincidence. Take it with a grain of salt. Number 3, be grateful that you're contributing to a conversation and other people are doing the same. Number 4, honor that you are unique and you've got way more to offer than that one thing. And number 5, stop watching and disconnect. Now, I will say with all of this, I'm not discrediting or discounting protection of your intellectual property. So if you have created something and there has been a serious breach of intellectual property, then of course, take action in the way that you feel is fit for you. I particularly want to speak to those people who create visuals, images, videos, those types of things. Your photos are your property and your intellectual property, and you protect those. I'm not saying not to protect them, but what I'm saying is that for a lot of people, particularly in the service-based industries, there are a lot of coincidences, and you need to weigh up, is it worth the time, money, energy, and distraction from moving forward with your business for you to actually pursue this, given that in a lot of cases, there's not actually any IP there that's been breached. It is simply a coincidence, or there's maybe they got a little bit of inspiration from you, but they're taking it on their own pathway. So that is my advice for you on dealing with copycats. I would love to know from you if you've experienced this before, or if this has changed the way that you feel about seeing copycats out there in the market, or finding someone who's doing something that's similar to you. Come along to the Heart-Centered Soul-Driven Entrepreneurs Facebook community. You can find the link with the show notes at tashcorbin.com/185, and use hashtag podcast aha to let me know if there are any light bulb moments, ahas for you, or if you have been able to move on from copycats. Let's not share all the stories about all the times that we've been copied and maybe be passive aggressive about copycats, but I want you to share what happened for you. What has the shift been for you, or what are you going to do moving forward should something like this happen for you and you want to just let it go and move on with your life, which I think is often the healthiest choice. Until next time, beautiful lady, I cannot wait to see you shine. Big love from me, and bye for now. Would you like more tips, tools, and resources to help you grow your heart-centered business? Head to tashcorbin.com today.